Good morning and welcome to another episode of Whiteboard Discussion. I'm your instructor, Dr. Mario Wallace, and today's topic is the strategy map. Let me give you some context to it before I actually get to the board. So the strategy map is one tool of the balanced scorecard, which has an arsenal of tools. This tool is designed to organize strategic objectives in a cause and effect manner, align an organization, that means business units, the people in the organization from the executive leadership all the way down to the frontline employee, using personal scorecards that support the strategic objectives on the map. And it's a tool that identifies 4 perspectives, as you can see here: the financial, the customer, the internal processes, and talent and technology. The whole concept of identifying the 4 perspectives comes from research that Kaplan and Norton did in their seminal research study as it relates to studying large and small businesses or companies. What they found was that most successful companies have strategic objectives and goals that measure 4 perspectives, and these are the 4 perspectives. Before the strategy map or the balanced scorecard, organizations determined their success based on financial outcomes. Organizations were not measuring or did not develop metrics for value proposition to the customer, the internal processes, how well did they identify effective efficiencies within the operation to meet the value of the customer's expectation, as well as aligning the people with the strategy, meaning determining the human capital. That means that the employees that support the strategy, considering human capital readiness, ensuring that the employees are ready to execute on the strategy, cultural capital, understanding what the culture should be in the organization. Normally, a culture strategy was developed in isolation of a strategic plan, which created competing priorities. And then information capital. How do technologies align and integrate into the organization to increase value for the customers and revenue for the company? So let's get into it. So a strategy map, again, is a cause and effect diagram, meaning the intangible assets at the bottom helps to achieve the tangible assets at the top. The intangible assets are the people, the technology, and the culture. Most organizations do not measure or do not develop metrics or goal around the people, the culture, as well as the technology. So that's at the bottom. So we have to connect the people with the tangible outcomes to determine how to evaluate a successful organization. When I say to determine how to evaluate, we can look at a strategy every quarter to determine if the things that we have at the bottom is helping us to achieve the top. We need to know that. That's why we have strategy review meetings to determine the success of the linkage or the alignment of the people, technology, and culture to these particular financial outcomes. So when we test the strategy quarterly, if we're not achieving those things, then we look at the map again, we realign and we reassess and we test again. Now, when you build a strategy map, you start from the top and you work your way down. First, you identify the financial outcomes that the organization wants to achieve within 5 to 10 years. Once you determine those, you build the rest. Unlike other strategy or strategic planning concepts that just develop metrics and goals with no sense of connecting the customer, connecting the people, connecting the culture, and connecting the technology, this helps guide the process, the strategic planning process. So from the top to the bottom, right, you see here, I have a circle around F2. The first thing we have to do is develop the strategic objectives and then develop the prefixes or the codes that align the strategic objectives accordingly. Meaning we are assigning these strategic objectives to people, but also these strategic objectives have measures, targets, and initiatives that supports them. So we need to know the code of the objective to determine the metric that supports it, and the project that supports it as well, meaning the strategic initiative. So we align to the codes. And we also need to know who in the organization support that specific strategic objective. So we will assign that person an F1, an F2, or P3 strategic objective, and we know at a employee review meeting which strategic objective to evaluate the employee on. So we go from financial outcomes. Once we determine that, then we determine what is the customer expectation and how will the customer expectation give us our financial outcomes. Then we determine the internal processes or the operations. What things that we need to work on to achieve reduce order defects, increase customer retention rates, improve delivery time. What things do we need to do within our operation and continue to do to create the greatest efficiency or effectiveness to achieve the customer expectations so that we can get our financial outcomes. And lastly, at the bottom, we need to determine what talent we need, what technology we need, and what type of culture we need to thrive. Cultures differ per strategy. Let me explain. Sometimes they're the same, but they may differ based on the market, the dynamics of the market. Let me explain. If we are developing a strategy that create efficiencies, that's driven based on efficiencies, then the culture we want centers around efficiencies. If we're creating a culture that a strategy that centers around innovation, then we're not looking. Efficiencies exist within any operation or any strategy, but we're looking to reward people based on innovation. So the culture shifts according to our strategy. So we have to make sure that the people are correct. We have to make sure that people are ready to do the work. That means that we have to identify the skills and the competencies and assess them on them and manage them accordingly. We have to make sure we have the right technology. We have to make sure we have that can be integrated. The people can be trained and developed on those technologies. And we need to make sure in this particular strategy, it has automation. We have to make sure that we have these boxes or strategic objectives for a strategy are aligned according to a cause and effect logic. In strategy review means we review the logic of the connection to ensure that it's giving us what we need, right? Most of the time when I look at a strategic plan or do an assessment of an organization, what I find out is that most strategic plans don't have anything in relation to the people, the culture, and the technology. Even though in organizations, executives always say people or human capital is the most valuable asset. Most of the time, that concept or that statement or the people that they're talking about don't land on the strategy. One thing we know through a Gallup poll is that the results stated that people want to be engaged within a company by being aligned to a strategic plan, said that increases their level of engagement. So again, this is a strategy map. You have 4 perspectives. You have the financial, customer, internal process, and talent and technology. You have objectives lined in the cause and effect manner. You have prefixes before each strategic objective. You develop the strategy map at the top based on identifying the financial outcomes so you can know what to do in the organization to achieve it and who to put on first base, second base, third place, what technology and what culture. This is Dr. Mario Wallace with another episode of Whiteboard Discussions. I hope this was helpful. Peace.